You are listening to Performance Anxiety on the Pantheon Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mark. Today we speak with Fredrik Saroea of DATAROCK. He's had quite the career. DATAROCK blew up when their song Fa 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 was everywhere in 2005. It was in commercials, video games, TV shows, and I'm sure some other synchronizations that Fredrik has forgotten about. That led to the band playing over 1,000 shows in 36 countries. But it all actually kind of snuck up on them. Take the first festival they played in Australia. They thought they were going to be on some little side stage next to the toilets. Turns out they were on the main stage supporting James Brown. That success has allowed Fredrik to do some amazing things. He performed DATAROCK the musical with a full symphony orchestra, but they only had one day of rehearsal, and it's an amazing story. He's also released an album called The Rona Diaries, where he plays with the BIT20 string ensemble, again with very little preparation. This one is hilarious, and Fredrik and I laugh our way through the entire thing. So follow Fredrik and DATAROCK on social media. You can get links at datarockmusic.com. Buy The Rona Diaries on Bandcamp or wherever you get music nowadays. Follow us at Performance ANX on social media. And support the show with a rating or review with a one-time coffee at ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety or with merch at performanceanx.threadless.com. And so stretch your faces so you don't hurt yourself laughing with Fredrik Saroea of DATAROCK, Performance Anxiety, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Relax. Sit down in a comfortable chair or lay down on your bed. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the weight of your feet. Feel the weight of your depressed thoughts, and we will lift them out of you through the next probably 2 hours of conversation with me, Fredrik Saroea, singer of DATAROCK, now also a solo artist and a meditation coach. At the end of it, you will be so rested and reinvigorated that in 9 months, you will give birth to a multitude of babies. If you're close to a reproductive partner. Okay, so you're listening to Performance Anxiety. My name is Fredrik Saroea. I'm sitting in Norway. Let's enjoy this together. Feel the weight. You need some meditation music. Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you? Is it 8 in the morning?
Yes, it is.
And you're doing the interview at 8 in the morning? I'm impressed.
Hey, I do what I can for my international guests.
Thank you.
That's
awesome.
Thank you for doing this. This is wonderful.
Well, thank you for doing it. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. Where are you? You look like an office.
Yeah, you know what? For whatever reason, I thought it was at 4 o'clock. So I'm at 2 o'clock. I was supposed to see my daughter dance at the Day of Dance, which I guess is an international thing.
Okay.
So I went down to the office because I do have a day job at a design company.
Oh, cool.
But this gives me the opportunity of showing you a little bit of town.
Oh.
So this is Bergen.
Oh, wow.
Can you see that thing right there?
In the center, that little...
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually a sculpture made by Magne Furuholmen, the keyboard player of a-ha.
Oh, really?
The guy who came up with that. Yeah. So I work at a design company called Form.
Okay.
And this is where we're at. So yeah.
Oh.
But behind that wall, I once saw a long interview with Morten Harket, because a friend of mine wrote a book about a-ha.
Oh, okay.
And he's supposed to be like pretty strange.
Oh, yeah.
But he did, to put it mildly. Oh yeah. There are so many stories, and I mean they're all so outworldly. You can't believe it. It's so many bizarre stories about him.
Oh,
he looks so proper, and he's a very handsome man and all of that. But supposedly he's a particularly weird person. But he was such a charming, nice guy at that 2-hour talk. So anyways, I went home and I started listening to all the a-ha stuff again. And I remember a couple of months ago, I actually went to the 50 Best Restaurants Award in Antwerpen, Belgium.
Oh, nice.
And I was listening to, I re-listened to that album they did. Oh, goddamn. No, I'm going to have to look up which album it was. Let me see.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Take your time.
All right. Okay. So I had to re-listen to, I guess, a lot of it. But yeah, Scoundrel Days.
Okay.
And I happened to have the number of Magnus Furuholmen, the keyboard player. So I texted him like, "Oh, I'm sitting here on the train to Antwerp and I'm listening to Scoundrel Days. It's so amazing. I love it, blah, blah, blah." And he very politely replied. So we had a little back and forth SMS communication.
Okay.
That's very nice. So yeah. Revisit Aha, guys.
I will. I'm going to have to, because I really don't know much besides Take On Me, to be honest with you.
No, it's interesting. When you hear something like Scoundrel Days, you even hear like drum solos, like elaborate, long, very energetic drum solos.
Oh, wow.
Like they even have like end parts of songs which are just straight up drum solos. It's all very surprising stuff that you don't remember from when hearing it when it was released originally, right?
Yeah.
But I guess that's what all the music we listened to when we were kids.
Yeah, revisiting it sounds a little bit different for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so the first question I have for you is, how do I pronounce your last name?
It's actually pronounced Saroea.
Saroea.
Which is kind of weird because it's not spelled Saroea, but it is actually pronounced Saroea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Norwegian last names are a little tough. I'm part Norwegian. My great-grandparents emigrated from Norway.
Really? Do you know from where?
From Tonsberg.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Last names were Fredriks and Torbjornsen.
That's very, very common Norwegian names.
Okay.
You being a music nerd, I mean, Tønsberg is like that's a music city. Really? Yeah.
No,
like they used to have one of the two most important festivals in Norway, like forever, and then they shut it down years ago, and now it's up again, and it's called Slottsfjell.
Okay.
And if you ever looked at pictures from Tønsberg, you can see that on top of the town there is basically a fortress.
Oh. And
that's where the festival is amazing. So if you ever want to visit your Norwegian home turf,
I do.
Go to Slottsfjell. It's super nice.
Oh,
it's super nice.
Check it out. Definitely. That's one of the dreams.
And it has a harbor. It has everything you need. Yeah.
That sounds like because my great grandfather, so it's my grandmother's parents. He was a whaler, and then when they moved to Brooklyn, New York, and he became a tugboat captain.
Yeah, I mean that area with Tønsberg is old school whaling, right? And I don't know much about whaling. To me, it just seems terribly awful, But like one of the guys in that area, he came up with this harpoon with explosives in it.
Oh my god!
I know.
That seems counterproductive.
Yeah, well, no, because it doesn't injure the substantial part of it, which actually wasn't the meat, but the fat. And I recently got to know this, but a substantial part of the Norwegian whaling was actually producing oil for the 1,800 lamps in the streets of London. So how you lit the streets in the old days before electricity was with oil, and it was whaling oil. And you can imagine a city like London, even in the late 1800s, they would need a lot of light in the streets, not for Jack the Ripper to kill you,
Exactly.
And the whole city was lit with, partly Norwegian whaling fat oil.
Look at that.
You learn everything. You learn something every day.
I do. I've learned two things now. Well, three things. How to pronounce your last name, that my great-grandparents' hometown has an awesome music festival, and
it does.
Norway.
Yeah, I gotta know. Okay, you want some more trivia? You want even more trivia?
Yeah.
Let's go for more trivia. Okay, so I'm in a city called Bergen, Norway, right? And a few hours south of Bergen, there is a tiny little place that you'll never hear about ever again, which is called Jorvik. And it's such a small town that it's, completely random that I even know about the place. Okay. Anyways, that's the etymological origin of the name York. So New York City is named after a tiny little place that nobody even knows about or cares about. south of Bergen. I don't know anyone who's ever been there, but it named the Big Apple.
That is amazing.
Isn't it? Isn't it?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, not dealing well with the stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Try doing that in person. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And a special offer to Performance Anxiety listeners, you can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/performanceanxiety. That's betterhelp.com/performanceanxiety. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. So, growing up in Norway, was music a big part of your life? What was influencing? What were you listening to? I'm always really curious for overseas guests. You know, I know what a lot of people who grew up in America listen to, but what were you listening to? Same stuff?
I mean, I'm born in '76, right? So we didn't exactly have the internet.
Yeah.
And music on computers. I remember my first computer was called a Sharp MZ700 before the Commodore 64.
Oh yeah.
And music on a computer was really just like beep 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 pop 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 beep. It was like the melody and Aha's take on me, you know. You know? So I mean, we depended on the radio, you know.
Yeah.
And buying music was shit expensive. So, I mean, most of the music I personally had available, like the kind of music I wanted to listen to, was on cassettes. Like we would copy cassettes. We actually copied cassettes from each other because we had cassette players with two cassette players in one. And then you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. I'm born 73. I know exactly what you mean.
Okay. No, and the same thing with, like, if anybody bought a vinyl, they would listen to it, and then not when they were done, but when they had a thorough listen, then you could perhaps borrow it, which was kind of scary to lend away your vinyl because they could injure it, you know?
Exactly. That's why I never did it.
No, he said, and I still know about 12 inches that I never got back from some asshole. I borrowed it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm still upset.
I would tell me, if you want it, give me a cassette and I'll record it and give it back to you.
Exactly. Yeah. But then that's sometimes screwed up shit, right? Because sometimes the tempo on one cassette player was different to yours.
Yeah.
So I remember sometimes we would bring together the cassette players and we'd start the album at the same time and see how far it went because they started to slip away from each other.
You guys got deep.
No, but we even, like our very first DATAROCK show, we actually did that on stage. We brought 3 cassette players on stage and we just pressed play and saw what happened.
Oh, wow.
But
it's even more true.
No, okay, so but you know, when we were kids, like I mean, MTV it came around pretty early. It was 81 or something like that. I don't know, pretty early. Yeah. But in the beginning, I mean, what was the guy who started, the 80-year-old billionaire person, and like I don't know when I heard about MTV the first time. It was sure it wasn't in 81. It must have been late 80s. I don't remember MTV until after like Bon Jovi and stuff like that. It must be in like 88 or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Mid to late 80s.
But so the kind of music we grew up with was like involuntarily. We listened to all sort of crap on the radio, right? Okay. And but I'm talking about childhood.
Yeah.
Right. But my parents were like fairly interested in music. So like my mother played the trumpet and she actually had perfect pitch by some reason.
Oh, wow.
So she was, which she was obviously very proud of. So she cared a lot about her interest of music. She still goes to shows a couple of times a week.
Oh, that's
even
awesome.
though she's like 72. Yeah. But I remember when the first music I really, really like. I mean, I must have heard all sorts of stuff, obviously, including Norwegian folk music and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the very first music I remember was Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and Simon and Garfunkel is really, a duo like Kings of Convenience.
Mm-hmm.
They're friends of mine from town. He actually lives
cool.
a 2-minute walk from where I'm sitting.
Oh, nice.
Eirik Lambek. Yeah, the other one, Erlend, he moved to Sicily years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but anyway, so I mean, there's a reason why those guys sound a little bit like Simon and Garfunkel, because my generation, we grew up on Simon and Garfunkel.
Okay.
And Leonard Cohen and that sort of stuff, right? And of course, we heard our parents, of course, they were still listening a little bit to Beatles, but they were still young when we were children, right? So they still picked up new music, like even mid-80s Leonard Cohen, not just old Leonard Cohen,
okay.
Right? And yeah, and also my father was a singer, so he as a hobby at least. So I was surrounded by all sorts of music, I guess. But anyway, so that's now we're talking childhood. But then in our early teens, when we got MTV, I mean, we were so young when we started listening to or seeing music videos and stuff on MTV. So then you're sort of sustainable to all kinds of crap, right? But then we discovered Headbangers Ball.
Yes.
Ricky Rackman. And that was really, and that was the start of severely caring about music for me.
Okay.
That was Headbangers Ball. I remember the first interview I saw with Sepultura, and I was just sold. So you see Sepultura, and I remember Igor is so sweaty because he had just played a show in London, and then they end the interview by him saying he took his soaking wet, sweaty tennis sock that he had played drums with, right? Puts it in his mouth, and then it says "Die Hard." And that was it. I'm all about thrash metal. So I was like, and also the interviews like Metallica, Anthrax, Creator, Nuclear Assault, Slayer, everybody like the kind of personality they displayed was just like, they're so dumb, they're like us.
Yeah.
Like, these are our people, So me and my friends, we were all, skateboarding, walking around the same kind of clothes like Sepultura, because, Vision Streetwear is actually a Brazilian clothing brand. So we're like very much into like their way of dressing, their kind of hairdo, the patches they would have from old bands,
Yeah. Yep.
And so for me it was thrash metal. But then, I mean, when you're that age, and everybody around me was like, really music nerds. Like when we were kids, like even at a very young age, we started listening to John Zorn and stuff like that. And I'm talking like 12 years old.
Oh, okay.
So when we were like 12 years old, we were really into like all sorts of oddities, like ragga. Reggae was so mainstream, so we would be more interested in like weird new electronic versions of that kind of stuff, like ragga, like Shinehead or stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And on the other side, we were very interested in like Swans and Diamanda Galas and that kind of crap. So we were children, and we're listening to these super serious artists.
That's insane.
And we would like on end, we would listen to, I mean, you shouldn't, I think, when you're 12, but we listened to everything The Fall ever did.
Oh, wow.
I mean, imagine being 12, 13 years old and that kind of personalities sipping into your soul.
Man.
But then I had my own radio show when I was about 12, and I actually named it after a Digital Underground single called Do What You Like.
Okay, yeah.
Which makes sense, because that's really funny when you're that age, and the video and the nose and everything was very funny.
Yeah.
But then in every episode of my show, I actually had a co-host, and I remember I was 13, he was 31. And I still to this day I don't understand how his wife let him, but he had a record collection because he bought like 10 vinyl albums every week.
Wow.
And me and my friends, we got to borrow them as soon as he had heard it. And he had a record collection of something like 7,000 records. And because the guy was such a such a music nerd, he obviously also had beta tapes and not DVDs, laser discs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
VHS, blah blah blah. So even before MTV, I saw all the videos by Devo, and I saw like live at Pompeii, live in Orange,
Ooh.
on Laserdisc. Because
Oh,
we didn't have a Laserdisc player, but he had one at work that I borrowed. So my neighbor was the internet, right?
that's crazy.
So and it's really funny because like his son grew up to become a collaborator of artists like Aurora from Norway.
Yes.
Aurora, So his son grew up to be a producer, and a successful one.
Wow.
But having that guy as a neighbor was, I mean, for instance, I went to Los Angeles a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And I stayed at Jerry Casale's place for a week.
Oh, wow.
And the only reason why I even knew about Jerry or Devo was because of my neighbor with that insane record and film collection. And he even told me that if I had seen that beta tape, which I had, of Devo videos, I must have been one of like a couple of hundreds. Because he remembered ordering those beta tapes. They didn't make anyone. And one of them ended up in my neighboring house. That's wow. Why I ended up creating DATAROCK, because of Devo, right?
Okay.
So thanks to that one goddamn beta tape, I ended up playing in 36 countries. Thank you so much, dear neighbor.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, and anyways, and just to wrap it up, and with my radio show, like every week we would feature a new release by Bad Brains or Living Color or something like that.
Yeah.
But then also, Detroit techno or hip hop or whatever was interesting at the time, right?
Okay.
But the first time I felt that this was mine. This is brand new. This is so new, and I knew that nobody around me had ever heard it before. Was Stone Roses, Happy Mondays, Charlatans, Ride, Spiral Carpets, and all of that new British music, right? Yeah. Which kind of merged new electronic music and guitar rock. Mm-hmm. And that's what DATAROCK has done since we started 20 years ago, right? But that I remember that year when I was 12 in 1988, when I heard all of that stuff and the graphic design and the production and I didn't know, I didn't understand any like drug aspect of that scene, right? Because I was so young.
Yeah.
So I didn't understand the lyrics, I guess, but I didn't give a fuck because it was etheric and soulful and, spiritual and really cool. And all the musicians were so groovy and technically skilled, even though they were like pretty bizarre people, right? Yeah. And I don't think I've ever heard anything that sort of captured me the same way as I think a lot of people experience the same thing, right? The music that you really get into when you're around 12, if you get into something like really, mm-hmm. that sticks with you forever. So yeah. If I had to name my favorite band, I would have to say the Stone Roses, just because of that,
I'm a huge Stone Roses fan. I actually love Second Coming.
Yeah, me too.
I know that one gets slagged a lot, but I love that.
Yeah, I mean, like you would be insane not to agree that 10-Story Love Song is amazing. Oh, yeah.
And Driving South. I mean, the John Squire's guitar on that throughout that whole album is just unbelievable.
No, I know, and it's I don't know exactly what happened to the band around them, but I mean, they didn't have the same momentum, right? And they had so many personal difficulties and all of that,
and there's such a
they didn't have the same kind of support with Enemy and all of that, right? And they didn't splash paint everywhere.
Yeah.
So they didn't get the same love at all, right? And also when they started off, they were so young, right? But then by the time Second Coming came, they were already like majorly successful, and then you don't get the same kind of support, right?
And the sound was
but anyways,
different.
I agree with you. I totally agree. I remember when it came out because so many of my friends didn't appreciate like the bluesy aspect of it,
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It's really, really good.
So you were into thrash at first. How did? Or I guess my question is more, when did you start playing music? Were you playing instruments? I believe I heard you learned the cello.
Yeah, that's really cool when you're 11.
Yeah,
right.
Everybody wants to play cello at 11.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, the thing is, when I grew up, we had a female prime minister. It was very okay to talk about feelings. It was like not like as if I felt dumb for playing the cello. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was beautiful. And I thought cello music was amazing and all of that. But I just didn't get the hang of it. And also, I never really got I still to this day don't have a good grip on notes or noted music, right? So, and to me, like the whole music thing is supposed to be some shamanesque, intuitive thing, kind of.
Okay.
So for me, and also I thought it was so dull to be in those goddamn music schools, you know. And the teacher was probably very nice, but she was so proper and quiet, and sitting there was like almost like a therapy session or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But not for me. It would rather be for her, I would say.
My God.
But
that sounds dreadful.
No, but it was also goddamn boring, right? But then my big brother started playing electric guitar, and at the time, the first thing you would learn to play was Holy Diver or something like that, right? And then if you listen to older music, it would be Sabbath riffs or stuff like that, you know.
Deep Purple.
Yeah, but Deep Purple is perhaps a little bit harder. But some of the Black Sabbath riffs and especially the thrash metal riffs are so easy. You just play it like this, right? You just use these two fingers, and it's really about the right hand movement, right? About 12, you start using right hand. You know how to use the hand.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to cut that out of the interview, okay? Yeah. But it's you know, thrash metal is very, you know, is adapt the correct word. I don't know. It's easier for a tiny hand to do that because it's really just about the pick, right?
Yeah.
And what you do with that hand is so simple. And anyways, and also the sound that you wanted to emulate was pretty, you know, nasty ass sound. Yeah. It was tube screamers and a Marshall amp, and
really aggressive.
It was just supposed to, but it was only supposed to say zzz, 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 right? But if you want to play jazz, it's really how you're supposed to play phrasing and how John Scofield or whatever sounds. That's really the only way you can make that sound is to have a guitar that costs thousands of dollars, expensive amplifiers, blah blah blah. It's so how to put it? It's so detailed and nuanced and all of that. Whereas thrash metal is you just chop away. It's like percussive guitar playing, you know?
Right. It's not nearly as complex as that stuff.
No, and in even in a rehearsal space, you can kind of almost make it sound. It sounds a little bit like, you know, old recordings of thrash metal because it's supposed to be ugly, kind of. Yeah. You know, so very quickly, it's almost like skateboarding. I mean, even if you never come to the level of a pro skater, you pick up some tricks, and the boys say, "Yeah, you learned how to do whatever shitty little trick, right?" And you get the dopamine boost, and everybody goes, "Yeah, let's go for French fries, you made it," or you know. And I think that's what the whole thrash metal scene and punk rock is all about. Like you get all of these small little wins, right? You learn how to do some. For instance, you discover you don't have to just do like straight up metrics, but then you go and then you get math rock, but okay, right? But you learn, you know, and it's always a big difference. I went just you know, right? And then
we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. Hey guys, I want to talk to you about socks for a second. Why not? It's a music podcast. But I tried a pair of socks from Boldfoot and loved them. I've only worn them once because my kids have stolen them. So in my household, that's the best endorsement I can give. And I guess it's fitting because the design I chose was jailbird. The design I chose was jailbird. I might keep that in. The socks are 100% American made, and 5% of all proceeds go to veteran charities. It makes sense, seeing that Boldfoot is a family and veteran-owned company. They have a huge variety of styles. So check out boldfoot.com and buy some of the best socks you've ever slapped on your feet. And help veterans while you're at it. That's boldfoot.com.
But then anyways, and then because I was such a nerd, right? I just practiced all the time. So when I was about when I was 13, I started playing in bands with people who went to music high schools.
Oh, okay.
So even when I was 13, I played a normal show in the classic rock venue in Bergen called Garage, where the black metal comes from in Bergen.
Right.
And that was a normal paid show, when we're 13. So you get a lot of, it becomes your identity. That's what you do. You do music, right? Because that's how you meet new people. Perhaps that's how you meet girls, and that's how you dress. That's where you hang out, and that defines who you don't like.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but then, and because of that, I got my ass into a music high school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and in music high school, I actually met the saxophone player in DATAROCK, and I mean that guy has ended up touring with Pat Metheny and Chicoria and stuff like that. Yeah. So music high school. This is ridiculous, but I'm just gonna say it. It was a little bit like that film Fame.
Oh, really?
Right? Yeah, because everybody came from everywhere. Normally in high school, you're in class with the same guys you went in class with in junior high. But I come from an island outside of Bergen.
Okay.
Right. So when I went to music high school, I came from that place, and pretty much everybody in my class came from all over the place. And quite a few of them actually lived on their own because their parents lived so far away.
Oh, wow.
So we were all about music. It was all about music, right? That's all. In addition to the normal subjects, we had 11 music subjects.
Oh, my God.
And we would even go and have concerts in Finland and Latvia and Sweden and all over Norway. And it was very serious.
Wow.
And like the guy who did my guitar exams, he was on the front cover of Guitar Player,
Really?
So it was like a tiny little tiny version of what you would imagine going to something like Berklee Academy of Music or something like that would be.
Okay.
But to me, that just became too much, so I stopped doing music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I really loved it, and I loved it so much. Like I would stay at school after closing hours just because they had a music archive, and you won't believe it. We were nerds, man. and then but then I was like, oh, it's too much. Like, okay, so I stopped doing music, and I started studying at the university. But then when you're a student, unless you take your subjects very seriously, which I guess you should, but I didn't.
Me either.
No, right. But those years at uni is just so much fun, right? Because let's be honest, you drink and you party, you go to shows, you just hang out and you have fun, right? And that's how music became fun for me. Ever since I was like 12 I'm gonna grab some coffee.
Yeah. Do what you got to do.
Now up until we started DATAROCK, I think fuck, it's empty.
Oh.
Damn. Fuck! What am I gonna do? I'm gonna try to pour out whatever is left in here. Must be something. I think what I'm displaying now is that I'm completely addicted to coffee.
Oh, I know the feeling, man.
Oh fuck! Someone put water in it. Fuck you. Okay. Well, anyways, that's me without coffee. Very upset now. Shit. Okay, fuck it. Anyways, and then so by the time we started DATAROCK, I just said, I don't want to write songs. I don't want to sing. I just want to play the drums, which I, by the way, do very badly. but then, and this is the fun part of it, because we were like what you referred to back in the days as slackers.
Oh, yeah.
Because we didn't give a fuck about anything. Like, I'm exaggerating, obviously, because we did perfectly fine. Our grades are totally fine, which is easy if you choose the correct subject. You don't really have to learn too much to make it okay, as you know, right?
Yeah, if it's something you're really passionate about, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, but none of us worked. We lived in like the shittiest, most inexpensive apartments, and and when you like that, you never think that you're ever going to grow up, and you don't know that one day you're going to have children and get old. So, like Slack is not giving a fuck. This is actually where I had my first show, right there.
Oh, wow.
Across the street. That's where DATAROCK played our first show.
Oh my God.
Never thought about that. But anyways, and then we started DATAROCK because out of the blue, out from this very serious city, Bergen, suddenly you got this really interesting new scene because some, people with like electronic music talent moved to Bergen.
Okay.
And that's particularly the guys in the band Röyksopp.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know Röyksopp, because they're from Tromsø, which is as far north of Bergen as Rome is south. So, because Norway is such a, it's like a ridiculously long country. So they're from, almost as far north as Russia.
Wow.
But anyway, so they moved to Bergen, and they were ridiculously knowledgeable and skillful when it came to electronic music production. So mind you, if you ever hear Röyksopp, even like the very early stuff, they never went to any studio to get any help. They did everything themselves. And if you read about KLF or whatever, most electronic successful acts get so much ghost help. Like so many of the artists we know about, they don't know half of what you need to know to make those productions, right? But these kids, they did everything themselves. They produced everything, programmed everything. I think they even mastered it, actually.
Oh my God.
So out of the blue, you have this really interesting new electronic scene in Bergen, which was playful and kind of no adults allowed.
Yeah.
So it reminded us an awful lot about kind of how we perceive thrash metal. It was just fun and not too serious, and nobody had any commercial aspirations. It was just about not exactly a shock effect, but it was more, if you can do something nasty and get away with it, that's funny, and so we ever since we started DATAROCK, we were part of this very interesting scene where, for instance, like people like Banksy came to town in 98 or 99 or whatever, and painted like tons of original pieces that he just gave to my friends, who are now, of course, multimillionaires because they sold the pieces. But different story. But we were like a very interesting town. So like Dimitri from Paris, he came here, and Peaches and Basement Jacks, and pretty much every interesting act you can imagine. And at the same time, I started booking this art venue. So I would book things like, Machtsbov. No, not Machtsbov. Did Machtsbov ever play my event? I don't remember. I think it did. Anyways, so we had like noise core and a very experimental scene, kind of linked to this alternative club music scene.
Okay.
So, and DATAROCK fit kind of somewhere in the middle of a pretty fun alternative club scene, which wasn't mainstream whatsoever.
Oh, okay.
Normal people wouldn't go to our clubs, but it was always jam-packed. I live in a tiny little city. It's 350,000 people here. But the kind of artist that I booked to the art venue was pretty close to how Tonic was booked in the early 2000s, right?
Oh, okay.
But our venue was bigger than Tonic. And we could jam-pack our place on a goddamn Sunday.
Wow.
Like a lot of these artists, they stayed at my place when they were in town. And like, for instance, I remember the Japanese duo Ruins, they came to town and they sold 350 tickets on a Sunday. Jeez. In Bergen. So you had this like really interesting period of time where music wasn't about career or getting good at playing a goddamn guitar.
Yeah.
Or it wasn't because when you take music very seriously in a high school kind of setting where like the trumpet players or whatever it is, they actually compete about the very few available positions in an orchestra in 5 years.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
So sometimes these people even use weaponized psychological tricks to fuck up with their peers for them to do bad on exams and shit, right? That doesn't apply to jazz, I guess, but but anyways, it sounds as if I'm exaggerating, but we all know it's true. It's very competitive in those years. Right?
I believe it. I mean, I went to college for photography, and it was a similar thing. There's only limited things. I mean, unless you go out and freelance, it wasn't this big open exchange of ideas like I thought it was going to be. It was just pure competition.
It is. But then, and that's exactly what we found in this scene, was no competition, and nobody knew there was anything to gain from winning any competition, because it was all fun and games.
Okay.
So I have to say, like, the first time anything remotely commercial happened to DATAROCK, that was actually from nothing straight into Coca-Cola ad.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I mean, What
It's
happened to you
crazy.
guys was insane.
I know. But none of that shit none of us could have anticipated anything like that. Because we built that whole idea on being 12 years old and finding Talking Heads and Devo interesting,
Right.
And nobody cared about that kind of stuff in 2005,
Yeah.
No, so that's kind of how I came back into music, because music became so much just fun and games and a way to travel. And first time we came to New York City, we played Knitting Factory in 2003 or whatever it was. Awesome. And on the same first trip to the US, we played Montreal on the way, and that was a place, actually, I think it was owned by, or what the hell is their name? Wait a minute. Their name, this band from Montreal that everybody loves, their name is, fuck. The name is kind of like, it's as long as And You Will Know Us by The Trail of Dead. What the fuck is their name?
Let me see. I'm going to see if I can look it up here.
Because they had that venue. They also had a record store. What the hell is their name?
Let's see. Bands from Montreal. There's
Black Emperor. Yeah.
Black Emperor. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, what the hell am I trying to say here? No. Yeah. So everywhere we went, we met people so alike us, right? And we played Knitting Factory in Chicago. We actually were picked up with Tom Windish and his booking agency. He now books Billie Eilish.
Wow.
But at the time, he booked techno, right?
Okay.
So it was just a way to, we didn't have any money. We didn't have any cash at all. So playing in a band was just a great way of being able to travel a little bit, right? And it was super nice to play and to stay at the sofa of some guy in Helsinki or in Zurich, Switzerland, whatever. And you go through his record collection. Oh, you like that too? Oh, I like that too. And blah, 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 super cozy. But then, obviously, as you know, eventually DATAROCK became a little bit of a
phenomenon,
commercial enterprise.
I was looking this up because I didn't realize the extent of how things blew up. I mean, so
that's crazy.
Fa 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 was, so you said the Coca-Cola advertising campaign. It was in Ace Ventura, Junior Pet Detective, NHL 08, FIFA 08, NBA Live 08, Sims 2.
Cause I'm on the ride fast, going nowhere. And I left my pride in the past. I'm on the ride fast to where I don't
You had New Song was in Madden 08.
Yeah.
I used to dance with my daddy in UEFA Euro 2008 and Need for Speed Pro Street.
Yeah.
True Stories in FIFA 09. Give It Up in FIFA 10. Apple advertisements. God, it ended up in TV shows. I mean, Dance, Amarillion. Fa 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 was in Workaholics. It just goes on and on. It's unbelievable how.
Some of them were pretty cool, like Workaholics. That's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Amarillion was in a really fun scene in Chuck.
I wanna hold your hands tonight. I wanna walk you home from school. I wanna take you on a date. I wanna treat you like a fool.
That's a nice scene.
Yeah.
No, but
Chuck versus Nacho sampler.
But the reality is that kind of music, because we were basically a so-called MySpace band, So we were an online band. So we were the kind of bands that came about in a period of time where music was in chaos.
Yeah.
So we competed against fucking U2 or whatever, kind of on the same level, because they didn't know how to work the net, right?
Right.
That's why they kind of forced their albums on the iPads. When you bought a new one, U2 was already there, right?
You couldn't get rid of it.
No, you can get rid of it. But that's also how they kind of this is probably not nice to say, but kind of forced themselves into a modern day and age, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because the old school kind of heavyweight music industry didn't really, their tricks didn't apply anymore. It didn't work anymore, right?
Right.
So I'm not exaggerating for a second. We did 1,000 shows in 36 countries.
That's
really
awesome.
what we did.
That is awesome.
Yeah. But my point just being like, when you do that, it's also goddamn expensive, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. You know those bonus agreements that certain airline companies have, like they have a kind of collaboration, mileage things, right?
Yeah.
And we always had to go for the most affordable tickets. So you couldn't choose the kind of flight that would fit into a setup like that. You would just choose whatever is the least expensive
you can
flight.
afford. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And even though we flew with whatever was most affordable, I ended up having a platinum card with Flying Blue, right? And and I didn't even try; it just happened.
Wow.
Right? And so I had, of course, like similar situations with other alliances. But I once met the sales boss of Air France KLM, and she just started laughing when I told her. She had never heard about it. I told her, without trying, I got a platinum card based on only economy flights. And she said, it's never happened before. You know? So we
That's amazing.
Yeah. And mind you, the funniest part of it is that we were so fucking sick of flying. We never used those bonus points for anything but upgrades, you know?
Let's use it for something.
Yeah, my wife came to the US once and we upgraded to first class on the way home. And
Nice.
I didn't even see a difference in the mileage points.
Oh my
God. It was crazy. Yeah, so we flew so much. You can so put it this way, like even when you played that many shows, and I mean we played Lollapalooza and Reading and Leeds and Coachella and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But these were the alternative days before music kind of turned around and started making money again, right? So so the only like real income we had was those synchronizations. You know?
Okay.
And what we used it for was really to travel further away, and you know, like for instance, the first place we had any success was Australia, and we were like, what?
That's a lot of air miles right there going.
yeah. But I'll tell you, like, because I mean, what do I know about Australia?
Right.
Kylie Minogue, In Excess. I don't know.
AC/DC.
I don't know anything. It's not as if I ever had a dream of becoming big in Australia.
Right.
You know?
I don't think it's not anybody's dream, really.
No, but it happened, and also you don't get any effect, right? Like so you become famous in Australia. Who's going to tell you? Like you don't even know.
Yeah.
You know, and like you still hang out in the same shitty pub, and you can barely afford 3 beers, and you know. But something happened in Australia, and we went there, and we're like, someone booked us to a festival, a touring festival, and as I said, we were slackers. We never really paid much attention to anything, so we went there without a sound engineer, without a TM or a light engineer, or anything. And we found it practical to only travel with hand luggage.
Oh,
right. And so we came to this touring festival in Australia, and it was, I mean, it had several stages, right? So we assumed we were going to play on a little, you know, the weird party tent in the corner that nobody cares about, right?
Yeah.
Where people basically go to score drugs, you know, and
next to the bathrooms and stuff.
Yeah, next to or in the bathroom, right? And but then we realized that we were supporting James Brown on the main stage of a stadium tour.
God.
So shit like that happened, and then we just thought, what the fuck? That's ridiculous. That's really fun. I met him. Like we shared a backstage for I don't know 8 shows or whatever it was.
That's insane.
But no, it is. But then we just thought, well, this is so absurd. Like this is the definition of fuck you money. So what we did with what we made in Australia, because I mean we were totally happy with being dirt poor because all our friends were, you know.
Yeah.
So what we did was just like, okay, so let's spend the money and try for the UK. And then the first thing we did in the UK was a 22-day sold out tour with NME.
Oh wow.
And out of the blue, we're suddenly associated to this new scene called New Rave. And all the other bands were like 20 years old or 18 years old, whatever they were. And at the time, we were like 30, you know? so it was all bewildering. We didn't understand anything. So anyways, so we found that also to be very interesting, weird, and funny, but we didn't take it very seriously. So again, we just said, let's try for America. So we took what we made in the UK and we tried for America, and then that kind of worked out. But the only, put it this way, the only surplus we ever made was a little bit from the Synchronizations, because for us this was just an opportunity to live a little and experience the world, right?
Yeah, travel and
Yeah. But we would never have been able to make those videos and do those pretty costly recordings and all of that had it not been for the Synchronizations.
right.
So the Synchronizations were, I mean, it was 4 FIFA games, and it all looks very impressive. But hello, give me a second. Hej, är det gött att bara göra ett intervju med sitta här eller? Och det var tomt där, så jag giddar så sitter i den här jävla rummet. This is my friend, and we knew each other since we were 12 years old or whatever. He's one of the guys I told you about.
Oh, wow. Hello.
Yeah, it's a tiny town.
Yeah.
No, but anyway, so what happened to DATAROCK happened to so many, and unfortunately, most of the bands disappeared very quickly because it was a pretty unhealthy scene.
Really? Wow.
I'd say. But yeah, and we were like, sometimes in interviews, we would actually have to say stuff like, kind of worried about the kids in the UK, because it's a particularly unhealthy culture going on, and we don't really want to promote that kind of culture.
Right.
Anyways, okay, you can also please erase that. That shows how boring I am. Yeah. But anyways. No, and then it just went on and on and on. We thought DATAROCK was some kind of student hobby, but then we're still doing it. And right now we're finishing up a new album, which we're making kind of in collaboration with Steve Dubb.
Oh, cool.
He's a 5 times Grammy award-winning guy who worked with all the releases by Chemical Brothers.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're also working with Mark Rankin in Los Angeles, and he's the producer who did Rolling in the Deep with Adele and that kind of stuff. But he also did Weezer, Queens of the Stone Age, Iggy Pop, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, those Queens.
So we're kind of still at it, and it's very nice because we're still just the same weird group of friends who are
with a great sense of humor. I love the humor in the music. I mean, the songs. All right,
Thank you.
You go back to like the early stuff. "Sex Me Up" is hilarious. That makes me laugh.
Sex me up, and now I'll sex you down. Whatever you want is my command. I'm into SNL. I'm neither butcher fam. And now don't you understand? I'm into any man. Sex me up, and now I'll sex you down. I get on the floor, I turn around. Get on my hands and knees. On your command I'll freeze. I hope this never ceases. Come get me.
Computer Camp Love. I mean, these are great songs, but like back in 2009, you wrote a song about Molly Ringwald, for crying out loud. I mean,
Yeah.
where the hell is she? I mean, how the hell did that happen?
Yeah,
That's one of my favorite
good
things
question.
about DATAROCK is the sense of humor. I mean, it's just, and you do some really unusual stuff. Like you wrote a song, "Position of Love," which sounds a lot like a response to "Girl You Want" by Devo. And True Stories, which is made up of lyrics entirely of Talking Head song titles.
Yeah.
Great stuff. That's the stuff I love. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So creative.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. It's funny that you say that, because "Position of Love" is actually the lyrics of "Girl You Want."
She sees from somewhere that you just can't see, sitting in the top of a greenhouse tree. Sends out an aroma of unrefined love. It drips on down in the mist from above. You hear her calling everywhere you turn. You know that you're headed for the pleasure burn. The words get stuck on the tip of your tongue. She's the real.
Okay, I had to.
It's just the lyrics of "Girl You Want," but I took out the "Girl You Want" sentences.
See, that's
So
okay.
so it's really funny because I talked to Mark and Jerry about it, and they said, "Well, go for it. That's really cool." But they have to say that if Warner ever figures this out, they will sue us. So we should just write over the lyric rights and 50% of the royalties to them. And we're like, sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it's going to generate that much. So here you go. Yeah, no, and it was so dumb. It was just, I had a hang up on the number 69. So I really wanted the song to be all about the number 69 and position of love. I don't know. But so that was that. But I couldn't sing about 69.
Right.
So, no, the position of that's really funny. No, but I mean, I always found it really interesting what people can get away with, you know? Like what the hell is that Justin Timberlake song where he sings, I'm going to get you naked by the end of the song. And like, or even, you know, Prince sings, oh my God, here we go. Me and myself play my tambourine. Yeah. We know what tambourine you're playing.
Oh, yeah.
And then he goes, and then, he doesn't want to talk about masturbation. So he goes,
picking hand.
He wants to get inside her tambourine.
Oh, yeah.
And he gets away with it, you know?
Yep.
So that was that. But then I just decided that's too much. I did get away with the Night Flight to Uranus, though.
Yeah.
Which is really funny because it's never been commented that the intro of the entire song is Night Flight to Venus by Boney M. Digga 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 gung 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 digga 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 gung gung. And I just found it funny. They have Night Flight to Venus, and we have Night Flight to Uranus. You know, which is like the first English joke we heard as children, because that's what they say in the E.T. movie when the kids are going on the school bus.
Right.
And I still remember the first time I saw that scene. I must have been like 8 years old. I don't know. But I still remember when I saw it because it's so confusing because I didn't understand what they said. And they said Sinus Suprinus. And that's why I say in Computer Camp Love too. Sinus Suprinus. He says that to Elliot. Sinus Suprinus. What the fuck does that mean, Sinus Suprinus? And then he says, your anus, get it? Your anus. But certain jokes doesn't translate well. Like for instance, the whole thing with the tomato and the ketchup, which means catch up in English.
Mm-hmm.
In Norwegian, we said that joke, but we said ketchup without the the meaning of ketchup.
Right.
It was just like, okay, come on, ketchup. That's not funny. You know, the joke doesn't translate if you say ketchup.
That's one of the things that I thought was really interesting was that there's so much humor in the band, and I wasn't sure if I'm not sure if it translates from Norwegian to English or vice versa, because it's funny in English to me.
Yeah, no. But my parents spoke English when I was a child, and
okay.
And I mean, like in Norway, nothing is dubbed, so we never saw, like in Germany and a lot of countries, children's TV and blah 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 is dubbed, right? Mm-hmm. Like even Hasselhoff translates his pop songs to German in Germany.
Right? Yeah.
You know, like we once did a remix for Avril Lavigne, and then they said, "Oh, that's okay. No, you have to add the 5 alternative languages she sings the song in." You know.
Oh my.
But
God.
anyways, so when we were kids, all the films and TV and obviously music, and we also read English, right? We started reading English in school in 3rd grade, right?
Oh, okay.
So hopefully it's not too bad, but I do know that it's a lot of like grammatical mistakes and shit. I don't give a fuck.
No, exactly.
You know, no, but the humor is definitely there. But you know, that's what happened to the solo stuff. Like by accident, you sort of, in a perhaps slightly drunken state, fall into a student band. And then 20 years later, you're like, wait a minute, I'm actually a musician. So when the whole Corona thing happened, DATAROCK had already slowed down quite a bit.
Yeah, right? I was going to ask
about
about that.
Well, that happens when you end up realizing that you don't only have children, you have teenage children. You know?
Yeah, I got 3 of those.
Yeah, and quite a few of us do. So it was just natural, and most of the guys in the band have college degrees, and one of the guys even has a PhD, right?
Oh wow!
So everybody was kind of busy in different things, and then we've kept it going. So even during COVID, we did play a few shows actually.
Oh okay.
Yeah, we did a tour last year of what was it, 15 shows or so.
Okay.
So we have done a little bit, but then because everything quieted down so much, it was like it was okay. I shouldn't probably say this out loud, but for me personally, I think for me personally, I obviously suffered as anyone else. Not everyone, but someone else. Like, we didn't have basically any income from music anymore,
Right?
Because
Yeah.
everything shut down, right?
Yeah.
And we had spent quite a lot of money because we had the 15-year anniversary of the debut album. So for us it was kind of devastating because not only did we lose income, but we lost a lot of income that was supposed to cover expenses we already had.
Okay.
Yeah. And then also in the sign company I worked in, everybody, I don't know the English word, but it's called permission in Norwegian. You're not laid off, but you kind of put on weight.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're on a leave.
Yeah, and first it was 100%, and then it was 50%. And anyway, so I mean, I guess it was tough on everyone. It was tough on me too, but more than anything, it was a very productive reset.
Okay.
For me, it was.
Okay.
And it was a brilliant opportunity to sort of. And I know a lot of people had the same experience. Not a lot of people talk about it because it's really taboo. Because we know so many people who really, really suffered hard. So it's kind of taboo to talk about it. But I know a lot of people came out of these couple of years with, getting rid of a lot of bad old habits and new ideas and all of that. And anyways, that's what I try to do. Like, how can we make this slowed down, absurd period of time into something somewhat constructive, right? And I mean, what do they say? Behind the mask, all clowns cry, or something like that. I mean, you don't start a band like DATAROCK because you're a happy-go-lucky schmuck, right? You make that kind of stuff because you're a negative fart face, right? So I mean, look at pretty much every comedian. Give him the opportunity, and you'll see how nasty and angry at the world he is. Yeah. So I mean, DATAROCK, I mean, all of us, as I said, I mean, we've always listened to very serious music and really pretty serious people, right? Mm-hmm. But then we've used DATAROCK to have a little bit of fun before we become also old grumpy people. Right. We cannot, grumpy young people straight into grumpy old people. Not a good thing. So let's have a few years of fun, right?
Exactly.
And with the last album we did, Face of Brutality, it was very natural for us to do a kind of a dark album. We had to, for many, many reasons, which we don't have to delve into. But we had to make an album which was a little bit dark, and that was not the right thing to do. It felt, because DATAROCK was supposed to be our Prozac,
Okay, yeah.
And not only for us, because we've traveled the world, and I've seen myself in the audience all over the world. You see people who spend far too much time being depressed and grumpy, having fun at your shows. That's what we did. We were the comic relief for a lot of serious people. And that since the very first start, we were kind of the excuse for the nerds to have kind of the same kind of party as the douchebags, Yeah. So, and then I kind of felt bad about forcing how to put it, like more serious sides of what we like to do into the band. Okay. Because DATAROCK wasn't supposed to be that, And so, I mean, sometimes you can do something pretty serious and then put it into DATAROCK. But when it becomes too sad, I don't think, you don't make a sad Seinfeld episode. You can make it like a dark episode of Seinfeld, but don't make it sad.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and then when COVID came, it was like, okay, DATAROCK can do whatever we want. Nothing good is going to come out of it. Right. Like if we release something that's just amazing and blah blah blah, whatever happens, there's no reason to, because you can't even play shows or anything. You can't do press. You can't meet journalists. Yeah. You can't get into a new collaboration with some amazing producer or musician or lyricist or artist or anything, because you're stuck at home, right?
Right.
Yeah. So I just thought, fuck it. Then I'll do all the stuff that I haven't done for these 20 years. That's how that stuff came about. So, I mean, I'm completely lying when I said that I wrote all those songs during COVID. I obviously didn't. I mean, listen to that stuff. Like, you don't make that up overnight, right? That's all the stuff that I didn't allow myself to put into DATAROCK. You know?
Okay.
So, I mean, most of the songs were absolutely not finished. None of them are finished, but most of them is like ideas that I had been laying around for quite a long time, right? Yeah, because, and also, I mean, it goes without saying when I say the inspiration is Sam Prekop and Archer Pruitt, that obviously goes quite a few years back, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So this is almost like the best of all my sad ideas.
The best of the sad.
Yeah, the best of the worst. So I was so stressed out because when you're that honest and you try your very best. With DATAROCK, I never tried anything. I didn't give a fuck. I mean, you don't write fa 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 trying. You just make something, you know. Computer Camp Love is, I mean, the first verse is just a dialogue between Lewis and Booger
Right.
in Revenge of the Nerds, you know.
Right.
I mean, you don't make that trying to be a success, you know. that was
That's
just
the formula.
And that's a very nice way to protect yourself emotionally, right, from criticism. It's like, oh, these guys are idiots. They must be so dumb, and we hate them. Then you just go, yeah, they hate us. But when you try your very best, it's like, oh no. I really tried hard to make a nice song, you know.
And they hate it.
Yeah, you really, you know, you put yourself out there. It's it's embarrassing to try hard to make something nice. Yeah. Right. And I mean, I love listening to Chet Baker, Gabriel Fauré, you know, Scott Walker ballads. You know, I'm into very quiet, nice music. That's what I listen to. Yeah.
Well,
you know,
I love the title, The Rona Diaries. That's a great title. It's, the sense of humor is still coming through there, and I love the difference in your voice. Your vocal delivery is a little different. I mean, you've got more of a Morrissey sound to it, which I love. I love Morrissey. So,
well, me too. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Me too. I mean, he's a conflicted person, but I do love him. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, no, I do. And I mean, I could probably sing along to the lyrics to all of the Smiths songs too. Oh yeah. You know? Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. No, but and that's also was an interesting trick because everybody has heard me shouting with DATAROCK. Right. So it's always shouting. And then because I'm not shouting on this album, everybody's like, oh, you can sing. Yeah. It's not that I can sing so well. It's just that it sounds so much nicer than when I am shouting. You know? It's quite a change. No, it is. And you see a lot of journalists become they're so surprised. But I've actually had a Chet Baker tribute band for 20 years. Like we only do like a show or two a year. Really? But I ever since we started DATAROCK, at the same time as we started DATAROCK, I started this. It's just some friends and we just do it for fun. But I've been singing Chet Baker songs and I try to emulate the way he actually sings them. And especially his vocal repertoire from 1957. Okay. Right? So I've been singing like that, and when you sing that's the same 20 songs for 20 years, then you sort of, you know, that whole way of phrasing and that way of, you know, avoiding vibrato. Is that how you pronounce it? Vibrato, yeah. Oh. Yeah. What you're not supposed to, and you know, blah blah blah. And then when you read something like How Music Works by David Byrne, or just see that film. What is that TV series by John Martin? It's called The Legends. No, The Pioneers. Okay. And when you hear stuff like the reason why João Gilberto and Chet Baker could sing the way they did was because microphone technology enabled them to sing softly yet be heard on a recording. Right. Oh, so that's how they can get away with singing "Embrace Me." You know. Mm-hmm. So, and also the effect of that was people shocked because it was like the voice of a man pillow talking to you, you know. Yeah, whereas in the earlier days, a person would have to shout just to cut through the sound of the orchestra. Okay, that makes sense. And that's also how. Yeah, and that's also what at least David Byrne says in his book How Music Works. He said that's how vibrato came about because the singer was standing in front and they would have the orchestra at the back, right? But still, the frequencies of the voice would disappear because I mean it's human voice, but it's still just frequencies.
Right.
So that's how they came up with the because that cuts through the anyway.
Wow.
So and when you spend 20 years singing the same kind of songs, you get an understanding of various ways of singing, not only shouting. But nobody knew this, right? Nobody knows that I've been singing quiet songs for 20 years, the same songs, by the way, because I mean, but anyway, so no, it was super nice to be able to do that. But I love playing, all those standard jazz songs from the late 50s are basically for musicals,
Yeah.
Pretty much all of them are. And a lot of them are actually for musicals that are completely unfamiliar to people. Like My Funny Valentine and 2 or 3 other standard songs are from the same musical that nobody knows.
Oh, okay.
But
including me.
Yeah, and me, because I can't remember which one it was. But being able to sing stuff like, what can I say? For instance, just cliche phrases like, there was a moon out in space. What the fuck are the lyrics? But a cloud drifted over its face. And stuff like, you kissed me and went on your way. The night we called it a day. So you get like a lot of like rhymes and cliche phrasings under your skin, and you really you get away with it because you've done it for so long and la la la. But then you have to do it with lyrics you're gonna write yourself.
Yeah.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
So kind of it was again, I should be very careful about what I say, but it was kind of a lucky scenario to be able to use a mutual hard background. Like everybody can relate to the whole situation of the lockdown and all of that. So for me to sort of use that as a back curtain of the whole album was sounds awful, but very convenient. I don't know how to put it.
I understand what you're saying, though. It makes sense.
Yeah, so please rephrase what I'm trying to say, because that sounds awful. But so I mean, what I sing about on the album is, I mean, it's real, right? And it was so different to what DATAROCK has been doing, right? DATAROCK has songs very similar. Like I wrote a song for the Red album called New Day's Dawn, which I'm really proud of that song.
Caught the seagull and chased it off the shore. See how it trembles, giving in, drifting off. A boy lit a cigarette while the girl closed the door.
It's kind of my tribute to Scott Walker ballads.
That's awesome.
But that's very similar to the stuff on my solo album. But in that case, again, it was like very much in the same vein as the rest of DATAROCK stuff. It's a tribute to someone. It's not personal. It's just DATAROCK can pull off something like that too, blah, blah, blah. But no, it was me. And I play all the instruments myself. I produced myself with the help of DATAROCK's drummer. It's recorded just in our home studio. And I'm so open to criticism, and I'm going to start crying if the journalists are terribly awful to me. It was terrible. And then
I like it.
You do? Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
What blows me away, and this stretches back into DATAROCK too, is your guitar playing has this Richard Lloyd quality, like from television.
Yeah. Main inspiration for the Fa 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 and everything.
Okay.
Because Fa Fa Fa, the riff, and both Fa 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 and Catcher in the Rye, is really paraphrasing Marquee Moon, right?
That's what I was going to say. That Catcher in the Rye has this total Marquee Moon feel to it. I love it.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
What do you folks do? What's the religion? What is your past? Do they know your situation? The tribulation? And will this last? I don't wanna be no hero. I wouldn't care to wear a halo. So where it go, I don't really know. Don't even wanna be the catcher in the rye.
So how did did the idea to do the solo album with a string quartet happen?
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, between me and you and all your listeners, quite a
Both
few
of them.
Good one. No, no. At the quite a few of the DATAROCK songs, I actually play everything. So I even played drums on most of the songs. So,
oh wow, okay.
And because DATAROCK was, it was very much a studio thing. Went to the studio, cracked a few boxes of beer.
Yeah.
It was
like
just some cozy stuff you do in the studio, and everybody's busy doing their things, and that not always everybody can be there, right? So, anyways, so many times I've recorded something that someone else has had to emulate.
Right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine, but at the same time, I just thought I don't want anyone else to have to try and emulate whatever I do. Not because I think it's amazing. It's just weird because I'm not a skillful drummer or percussionist or keyboard player or bass player or anything. So why present it as I could play it on just my guitar, right? I could do that, but I just thought how interesting wouldn't it be to arrange these songs for a completely different kind of musicians who can add so much, instead of just doing my limited imagination on the other instruments, right?
Okay.
So, but in 2013, I once did a DATAROCK musical.
Yeah, I saw that. That was I read a little bit about that. That was just we had one day of rehearsals or something.
Yeah, and we only had one performance, but we recorded it.
Yeah.
So we still have quite a few copies of the vinyl version.
I saw a teaser of it. I thought it was amazing. I want to hear that.
Okay. I'll send you a link. Send you a link. Yeah. No, by the way, that was a hilarious story. It was it was this festival in Norway who were really good friends of us. It was kind of the first festival that took us really, really serious with DATAROCK. So we kind of became the house band.
Okay.
For like 11 years or so. And this is a sister festival for Sonar Festival in Barcelona, right?
Oh, okay.
So it's a sister festival of all those like super cool, interesting, experimental festivals for art and music.
It wasn't the festival in Tonsberg, was it?
No, very different.
Okay.
No, but and then they said, hey, I think they forgot to program the main hall. I think they basically just forgot to program it because they called me and they said, hey, we have an agreement with the symphony orchestra and the main hall. Do you want to do something with them? And this was like 2 months before, right? And I was like, yeah. And I thought, sure, if I can do a musical. By some reason, that's what I said. and they were like, okay. I don't think they wanted me to, but they said, sure. and then in 2 months, we wrote and arranged 60 minutes of orchestrated music with an 87-piece orchestra.
That is
we had
amazing.
1 day of rehearsals.
1 day. Oh my God.
Like we have footage of ourselves sitting like the day of the performance, like we don't remember these lyrics. These are good 20 songs. And what does this shit mean anyway? And what is the story? Because there wasn't like really any good story there. It was so funny. Anyways, the guy who helped me do the arrangements, he became a friend because he was such a cool guy. And then he ended up doing like tons of orchestral arrangements and choir arrangements and all sorts of stuff with us. So I asked him if he wanted to do some orchestral arrangements. And then, do you know the band Turbo Negro in Norway?
Yeah.
Okay. So the main guy is Happy Tom, the bass player, and he's a very important journalist in Norway. Like he's an amazing guy, and he had this amazing debate forum program in Norway, and he once asked me if DATAROCK wanted to do Carly Simon's "You're So Vain."
Oh, cool!
And then give me a second.
Yeah.
Like that. And then he said, want to do that? And I said, I really don't. And then but again, with my Tourette's like response to things, I said, but I'll do it if I can bring, and I just said a violin, a viola, a cello, and a harp. I don't know why I said it. And then he said, well, sure, just like with the musical, right?
Yeah.
And then he said, yeah, sure. And then I got that, and I'll send you the video for that too.
Okay.
You can find it on YouTube if you just Google DATAROCK and You're So Vain.
You had one eye in the mirror. You watched yourself go out, and all the girls dreamed that they'd be your partner. They'd be your partner. You're so vain. I bet you think the song is about you. You're so vain. I bet you think the song is about you. Don't you? Don't you?
And anyway, so and that was just something that I pulled out of my
Posterior. Yeah.
so, but it was so weird because I've never heard anyone sing with a violin, viola, cello, and harp, but it just worked so well that that's what I wanted to do. I don't know why. I just loved it. So, and that's the whole idea. That's what I wanted to do with, and I didn't know any of these musicians that play on my live version, by the way. I never met any of them before.
Wow.
So, but I just had this idea that would be amazing because the most kind of rhythmical patterns would be in my rhythm guitar, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because surely the violin wouldn't be that. It would be the viola, cello, to a certain extent, obviously the harp.
Yeah.
But that can just be like, and that's a very subtle rhythm part, right? So then we can just skip the drums and all the percussive stuff and just let the songs be what they are, which is all of the songs are really just guitar songs, just guitar and vocals. That's how all those songs were made, right? And then, anyways, and then I asked my booking agent to contact the biggest art music festival in the Nordic countries to lie, or I lied to him. Perhaps he lied. I lied. Everybody lied, and then I just lied and said, "Oh, the new album is coming out, then the solo album's coming out in May, and you want to book it?" He has arrangements for an orchestra, and they booked it. To the main hall of the festival.
Oh my God.
And I was pissing my pants. It was like, fuck. The first time and this was the first time I had played any of these songs, right?
Oh my God.
And I also realized that it was so expensive, everything, that I would be losing quite a lot by doing this. So anyways, but then I knew very well the artistic director of BIT20, which is basically the National Ensemble of Art Music, Contemporary Art Music.
Okay.
Because he had actually been the conductor of the symphony orchestra for DATAROCK's musical.
Oh, okay.
And he was also a student at the same music high school at the same time as me, but he was 2 years older. Anyways, so I talked to him. Do you have some suggestions of which musicians to perform with? And he suggested some 4 random musicians from the Symphony Orchestra of Bergen, who happened to also be part of the BIT20 ensemble, which he's the head of, right?
Okay.
And then this is kind of like not very interesting to most people, I'm assuming. It's kind of bureaucratical, I guess. But then the heads of this ensemble came to me and they said, "Hey, wait a minute, but all those musicians are actually from BIT20. Why didn't you talk to us?" And I'm like, "But Mats is the head of the company, and he sort of told me to talk to these guys. So what is the problem?
Yeah.
Like, are you upset?" And then he said, "No, yes, because we want to officially be part of this."
Oh.
So it went from me, very last minute getting all of this arranged for that particular kind of lineup, to getting these 4 amazing musicians on board, to those becoming representatives of BIT20 ensemble.
Okay.
It kind of like that. That's how it went. Anyways, and then I'd never met any of them. And I mean, these guys, like the violin player, he's from the US. The viola player is from Latvia. The cello player was born in Russia.
Oh my God.
And the harp player was from Norway. Anyways, I never met any of these. And all of these people obviously have personalities, different like energy, different understanding of tempo. Is the phrase supposed to be on, a little bit behind, or in front? You know,
Okay.
so it's not a matter of just going through the songs. You have to make a million decisions in rehearsals.
Okay. Wow.
You know,
I didn't realize that.
and that's no, you do. And we did tons and tons of major changes, and even the arranger flew in from Oslo and went through the songs. So on the sound check, we did, you know, pretty serious changes to the arrangements. We're talking 20 songs is what we performed.
Wow.
And it was crazy. And I remember during sound check, I drank 10 glasses of water. I was just sweating. It was terrible. And I was so dumb because I just thought, I'm spending so much money on this. This is probably the first, only, and last time I'm going to perform this. So I better record it.
Right.
And coincidentally, Kings of Convenience's sound engineer was doing the sound there. So we made an agreement for me to get the footage for the street, because it was a sold out show.
Oh, man.
And for the first time ever, I'm performing these songs. For the first time in ages, I'm playing for a substantial number of people, you know, and it's streamed internationally, and we're recording it for film and a record.
Oh,
So all reasons to be stressed out, right?
right. Yeah.
And then, I mean, I'd never sung those lyrics before, and then you have to play those weird, pretty complicated things, right? And then we don't even know who's starting the song, like who's counting us in, like because there wasn't a conductor there, nobody to sort of be the dominant tempo master, right?
Oh my God.
It's like so for every song we're looking at each other like, who kicks us off, like, and mind you, we're not even facing each other because that's what I wanted to do, but the cameraman said we couldn't, so we had to stand looking at you. We didn't even see each other, right?
Oh my God.
Crazy.
That's crazy.
And then we heard the recording. It's like, fuck, this is insane. Like, it sounds so rehearsed.
Yeah.
You know,
really good.
Yeah, no, it's insane. It's really, but it's because those guys are so masterful at what they do, right?
Yeah.
And then we got the Mark Rankin to mix it, and it's bewildering how well it turned out. The rehearsals we had was 2 rehearsals, and those 2 rehearsals were 2 hours each. That's 20 songs.
Wow. Oh my God. What's amazing to me is that some of the songs, you know, they sound like orchestral arrangements of the original track, like I'm a Rock, but others are completely transformed, like Feather in the Cap.
Oh yeah.
I want to tell you how I feel. I never ever been as low as this before. I want to talk about something real. I want to get you and then upset you. I want to see me in the beaming eyes of the pain I get from staying.
Yeah,
it sounds like a
I'll
different
tell
song.
you something funny. Because you can hear how Feather in the Cap, how that kind of, that's one of the more challenging arrangements, right?
I'm sure.
And he wrote that. Yeah, he wrote that the day I called him and said, "Hey, I got the musicians. They're all from BIT20."
Yeah.
And he knows how good they are and what they can do. And he was like, "Contemporary art music, here we go."
Nice.
Yeah, we actually had to take out some elements because it was just so sick noisy. But yeah, that. But I mean, that song is yeah, even on the original, it's kind of noisy. But this, I loved it. I think, personally, I prefer his or the live versions to all the studio versions.
Well, the
I
album,
just loved it.
the album is 28 minutes long. Where's
No.
what about the rest of the songs? Are they going to stay unreleased, or maybe there are plans to put them out at some point?
Damn, I never thought about that. Well, okay, I'll be honest. Like some of the songs were me alone.
Okay.
I just found that not very interesting. And then
Okay.
some of the songs were DATAROCK songs, which are kind of similar to this.
Right.
But yeah, sure, we should release that too. It can be like,
Part
because
two.
I'm releasing this material on a 12-inch vinyl now, and this is really interesting. I figured out a way, put the entire album on one side of a vinyl, so it's a 28-hour side.
Oh, 28 minutes.
I'm like 28 minutes, yeah.
Yeah.
and it sounds amazing. It's made by a guy called Mike Marsh, who's done like everything from let me think. Well, Depeche Mode, and ever since the beginning of Depeche Mode, I guess.
Okay.
But he did Prodigy and you know, Calvin Harris and all sorts of stuff. But he also did like Primal Scream and I don't know what. He's a British mastering engineer.
Okay.
But he also cuts vinyl, right? And he cuts lacquers, and we
wow.
talked about it, and he knew that because it's not the deep end in like Prodigy and stuff like Chemical Brothers or whatever, because you don't have a sub bass, or you know, you don't have club music.
Right.
Then it's like it should be fine. The only thing is that because you know the rills in a vinyl, it's about depth. There's a correlation between depth and volume. So the only big difference is that the volume is lower, right? But anyways, so what we did is I'm releasing a double album on one vinyl. So it's the entire live it's the entire live album on one side, and then the other side is the entire studio album, because that's also only 29 minutes or 28 or whatever it is.
That is really cool.
Yeah,
that is
so
awesome.
So I guess it won't fit bonus material, but perhaps we could one day do some bonus stuff. Yeah, the DATAROCK songs, like actually particularly and Catcher in the Rye, worked really, really well. And I think Laugh in the Face of Darkness worked really well. But
yeah, those would be. I'd like to hear those. That'd be interesting.
I got them.
Yeah.
I might send them to you.
I'd take them. I listen to them. I won't put them on the
Well, if you
podcast.
want. Okay.
Unless you want me
Let's
to.
talk about it. Yeah, sure. No, but it. You know, I have this. I don't know if I came up with this myself or if I read it somewhere, but I like to optimize the opportunities for luck. You know, it's like this whole thing is just I'm so happy with it. I'm so proud of it, because not for myself, but for being able to collaborate with these people and kind of for instance, they complimented me on my guitar playing, and I was so touched and moved and so proud, you know?
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, it really made me feel like just being able to be, you know, kind of accepted by that crowd or those four guys was just like, I was like, I just want to stop doing music. I'm so proud now. You know?
You've reached the pinnacle. You're done. Go out on a high note.
Yeah, and it's like this probably comes out. I shouldn't say this either, but kind of anyone can end up playing in front of 80,000 people. Kind of anyone. You just have to do something really, really dumb, kind of, or work with someone who can put you in that situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't. I don't know. Oh, that was awful. Perhaps we have to erase it. I have to try again. I don't know how to put it. But I mean, like if you manage to build a kind of momentum, a media momentum, and that momentum might come from so many reasons, right? But being able to sort of work with these people who treat music as a timeless matter, where the way they accept or reject what you write is based on, you know, a deep, severe knowledge about music throughout 500 years.
Right.
And they would, I would hope that they wouldn't compliment on something that they didn't appreciate, you know?
Exactly.
So, and when these people are, you know, happy with your level of skill, that means something different than that, you know, being able to rip off already established beat pattern for whatever house song, whatever you want to say, you know, because anyways, in my value set, that means so much more. And like I last week I got this review in Uncut magazine, and it got 8 out of 10.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, yeah, I was almost crying, and I was like, I just want to I want to get rid of all of my music equipment right now because this is too much.
Yeah.
You know,
you can only go. You can't go too much farther up than that.
No, and also, like, I mean, this is definitely not something that I expect a lot of people to listen to. But I don't care. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, it's about having spent so much time listening to everything from Bach to Gabriel Fauré to Diamanda Gallas to Norwegian black metal, and somewhere in the middle of all of this, there's get rid of production, press shots, a fun logo, the correct PR system, blah blah blah, and you're back to the beautiful mathematics and poetry of music.
Yeah.
And if I even grasped that something, somewhat okay quality within that kind of realm of magic, I'm fulfilled,
Yeah. I understand.
You know what I mean?
I understand it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
So that's what this is. So that's why I had to release it, because I was so proud.
Yeah.
These guys wanted to play with me.
Yeah. I know. I get the same feeling when I get a compliment on some of my photography, or somebody says they enjoyed being on the podcast. So I get it.
Yeah. Well, by the way, I really enjoy being on your podcast.
I'm done. I don't have to record anymore.
Exactly. No, but I mean, this is really, I have to say that this is not about becoming an adult or old or anything. I always felt like this. I always did, Yeah. So like when you're a child, when you try to do a little riff that you're like, oh, I'm so proud. It's about kind of trying to master that, notes and phrasings, and it's kind of a terrible thing that we have to have an income when we're adults, right?
Yeah.
Because as soon as music becomes your livelihood, you have to start making those choices that can sustain a living, right? And it's not only for you, it's for the management, the record company, and I mean, you end up loving everybody you work with, right? So suddenly you start saying yes to live shows that you don't want to do, but you don't want to, not make sure that everybody around you can pay the goddamn rent.
Which leads to 1,000 shows in 36 countries.
Hey, man, do you have the show called Paradise Hotel?
That sounds familiar. I haven't seen it, but it sounds familiar.
Yeah, okay. It's a kind of show where you put 20, fit dumbasses on an island so they can screw each other and mispronounce words.
Right, yeah. We have plenty of those over here.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I remember one day DATAROCK was playing a show, and the entire cast of that show was in front of the stage. And they completely related to us, and they invited us to a party. And I was this close to just there and then committing suicide.
No. Oh, no.
And what happened?
I don't know. All of a sudden, you just look like the phone dropped.
What am I doing? How do I do this? Okay.
Oh, you're back.
Did I disappear? I'm back?
You're back.
Okay. No, but then you start doing stuff like that, and then I can't remember any synchronizations that we weren't okay with. I thought pretty much everything was pretty cool. But as soon as music becomes really something you depend on completely, then you start having to, you get into a mind frame where
you start second guessing yourself and your art.
Yeah, but you also become a business person,
yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, because everything you're making has consequences now.
Yeah, and you don't want to, but it's irresponsible not to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then you can pretend that we shouldn't have done this, or I didn't want to do it, but then it's like, but you don't have any other income. I didn't do it because I wanted to.
Yep.
I did it because we had to, kind of. But the question is, did you really have to? No, you didn't. You could just try and make an income on something where you're not a sellout, and then you can try to do music true and honestly. And in my case, that was very difficult for me to make that choice. Kind of the lockdown just made it for me.
Well, yeah. I love the solo album. I love the string quartet album. I think that's just fascinating stuff. I've been listening to it constantly for the past several days, and it's just...
damn, thank you.
And I really enjoyed going back and listening to the DATAROCK stuff. It's really cool because it comes across as a computer rock, but it's not. I definitely can hear that it developed out of guitar demos and just more analog stuff than computer-driven stuff. So I really enjoyed going back and revisiting everything. It's been wonderful.
Wow, thank you. Okay, you're too kind. I'm now gonna have to send you all of that stuff.
Well, before we get going, what are the social media accounts? How can people buy the album? How can they follow you on social media and find out what you and DATAROCK are up to?
Okay, so I'm so bad with social media because, and it's partly because we have tracksuits, we have different personalities, kind of in the band and in real life. In real life, as you can see, I have a normal job. I have 2 kids and a wife, and I'm a total normal person. But in DATAROCK, we're the funny guys, right?
Right.
It's been so hard to sort of keep track with the whole goddamn, self. Putting yourself out there, social media world. So I don't even know where you can find us. Okay, so DATAROCK, we're on Instagram. We do have a Facebook, which is a medium I never use, never ever.
Okay.
So it's really bad, but you'll find us there. We're available on every streaming service, and as far as I know, we told the distributor just make us available wherever. Just please.
Cool.
So really, I don't know. We're everywhere. We do have a Twitter, and we post something like every 3rd year.
Yeah.
And
I get it.
But one of the, and actually we have a very interesting homepage. That's really funny because we made it for the 15-year anniversary. Like if you ever have like 3 hours to read an online article, you should go to datarockmusic.com. That is pretty funny.
Okay.
No, anyway, but what we decided to do is just get our act together just a little bit, and I just love what Bandcamp does.
Yeah.
Like, how it really connects us, like kind of a little bit like MySpace was in the old days,
Okay. Yeah.
a little bit. So anyway, so within a couple of weeks at least, you'll be able to access everything and us through Bandcamp. So there will be a DATAROCK Bandcamp. There will also be a Fredrik Saroea Bandcamp.
Awesome.
And our music is distributed in America through Red Eye. So it's available everywhere, I guess. I don't know.
That works.
I don't know.
And I'm sure your social media links are on the website. So.
Oh yeah.
So you can go there and check that out. So
yeah, like just the thing is with DATAROCK, so many people took that name. Like actually, a ton of companies, from mining data to hard drive producers. Like there was even a goddamn German hard drive producer who used my hand painted logo as their official logo.
Oh my God. How do they think they're gonna get away with that? That's insane.
I thought it was really funny because I assumed it was a startup that would go bankrupt soon anyways. But so I didn't want to bother them.
Right.
But then I crossed my fingers and hoped for them to be successful so I could sue them.
Exactly.
But then I forgot. I totally forgot. Perhaps I should.
I'm glad I reminded you about this.
So if you want to search for DATAROCK, I mean, we have a YouTube channel and all of that where you find, by the way, some very, very funny animations that I did.
Cool.
Partly some of them based on an interview that Nardwar did with me many years ago.
Okay.
Really funny. But anyway, so we have a YouTube channel. But if you search for DATAROCK, because so many people took that name, I think it might be wise to search for DATAROCK official.
Okay. That
So
makes sense.
usually I think it's like everything is like DATAROCK_official
Okay.
for whatever reason. And then my name is Fredrik, but it's spelled without the C. And it's no E after the D, so it's Fredrik.
Fred.
Saroa.
Fred.
So
Rick.
Fredrik, yeah, which screws up my ability to connect with people because nobody finds me because it's always misspelled.
Yeah.
So that's why a name like DATAROCK, proved very practical in the beginning. Everybody remembered it.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, Fredrik Saroea and DATAROCK official. Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
No, but hey, I really had a great time.
I appreciate that.
It was super nice talking to you. It really was.
You too, man. I really had a blast. It was hilarious, and I really love shows like this. This is wonderful.
Look at me, look at you. Who's the first one to smile? Better luck next summer again. And I said, look at me, look at you. Who's the first one to cry? Better luck next summer again. And I said, I will never ever forget let you slip out of my head. Not till I'm dead, happier sad.